Good evening and welcome to the September 14th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of Concord. First, we'll do a roll call for the people, our members that are here tonight. First member is Elizabeth Akehurst Moore.
Present, but did I just freeze?
You just froze,
Yeah.
but we still hear you, so that's a good thing. And if you can still see us, then that's a good thing too.
Phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not terrible, but
Yeah.
I might drop off and come back on my phone.
Okay. Ravi is not here yet, and he's going to be here, we think, right? Thomas Swain.
Yes.
And welcome to our very newest member, Elizabeth Dwyer-Leonard.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome. So, anyway, let's get right to business. And if Ravi is coming late, then Thomas will be the voting member of the first item. First item on the agenda is Sadi Muntasir. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly, for a special permit under zoning bylaw sections 5.3.15 and 11.6 to open operate a tourist home at 219 Commonwealth Avenue. Anybody here to
Hi,
speak for the applicant?
so I'm Sadi Muntasir. I opened this permit. Actually, we purchased this home last year. I believe we moved in January of 2022. And I mean, I didn't write this in the letter, but I lost my job twice last year, once in July, once in November. And my current employer is going through a layoff. I've had this on the market for like long-term rental for a couple of months now, and we haven't had any like actual interest for long-term rents. So we're just asking if we could get permission for short-term rental. If you have any questions, I'd be more than welcome to answer those.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board on this?
Sadie, would the 3 bedrooms be committed to this process, or might you be using those when not rented?
Yeah, we'd be using those when not rented, correct. I mean, I put 3 bedroom, I think, on the diagram just because I think it was limited that you can do maximum of 3 bedroom, but it's not. That's how it's like we would always rent it, and we would stay at the property when it's not rented.
And what do you have in mind when you think of short-term rentals?
I mean, I maybe if what do you mean by that question? If you could,
well, you had indicated that you'd hope maybe to have a long-term rental, which this provision doesn't allow for that. If you were to say, hey, we want to rent it for a year or 2 at a time, I don't believe the code allows.
At least for a year.
At least for a year. I like to try short-term rental. Like I said, we tried the long-term rental. It's on the market right now. Since what, January?
No, since March.
Since March, but we haven't had any applications in at all. It's listed with a real estate agent, actually.
Elizabeth Hughes, is there any history about the length as defining short-term rentals?
There is no, so currently the zoning bylaw does not have a specific definition what short-term rental means.
Okay.
But I mean, any property owner, there's lots of people that rent their homes or, have a house that, they rent the whole entire house. And when I think, the comment being long-term rental, that's, that's just somebody who has a house, they rent the whole entire house and somebody rents it for a year or 2 or has, a year lease. And so there's lots of properties in town where people rent their homes. The 1, 2, 3 building commissioners before the one now, John Minty, when short-term rentals, so specifically Airbnb and those where it was somebody renting a place for a long weekend or a week's vacation or 2 weeks vacation, that is what has been the the implementation or the determination that the previous building commissioner made, and has gone forth with the last few building commissioners, that a short-term rental is a couple of nights, or somebody's coming on vacation for a week. But
So, if you don't mind, I just wanted, when I first went to the town regarding this, they told me like anything less than 30 days, I'd have to apply for this permit. So I don't clearly remember what the bylaw says, but I was told anything, even if it falls at 29 days, it would be a short-term rental.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, any questions? Let's open it up for the public, whether there is public that would like to speak on this application. Mr. Johnson, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Matt Johnson. I'm at 21 Winthrop Street, right around the corner from this property. I'm actually speaking more from the perspective of having been a former planning board member and select board member about the policy objectives of the town. And also with the experience that we have had in the neighborhood with Airbnbs that have been opened illegally. I mean, this application is one that is above board, which is great. But last year there were 2 other units shut down on Commonwealth Ave that were not authorized. And we also, if you go a little further up the street, we currently have a homeless shelter. So we in Massachusetts right now have a housing crisis, and taking units away from the stock of available housing. I understand the economic case perhaps, but I also don't understand the lack of applicants for the rental, because I mean there is certainly plenty of demand for rentals in Concord. That this type of short-term tourist home housing, other than in a well-established bed and breakfast, I don't believe is consistent with the town's objectives at this time. If we had excess housing units, if we had lower occupancy rate or something, that would be fine. But from an economic, if you look at the special permit criteria, you look at the economic and policy objectives of the town, this really isn't aligned with this application. So I am concerned that if this is approved, that there are certainly many other homeowners that would like to establish these units, and I don't know what other criteria other than these economic criteria we would be able to use to control that development. So I have to say I oppose this application.
Thank you. Anybody else, the public, who wants to speak? Seeing none, closing this part of the public hearing. We lost Elizabeth Akehurst Moore somewhere. I bet her computer froze up. So the new Elizabeth, you will be, as you've been sitting through the whole discussion, you will be voting on this, by the way. Is there any discussion here between my members? Thomas?
Yeah, based on what Elizabeth Hughes had indicated, I don't see a basis for rejecting the application. This appears to be in good order, although I do note that in 11.6, one of the conditions is impacts on economic or community needs. And I heard what Matt had to say, but I don't think I follow the economic aspect of it as it relates to a negative. So I personally would be in favor of this application.
And I agree with you. First of all, I don't think we are a policy board, right? We are reviewing applications against the current zoning bylaw, and we're not making policy. And if these applications meet the bylaw, we should approve them. So I agree with you there. And I think, as the applicant stated, he has tried to have a long-term rental, as he said, during the past several months. He has tried to add to the housing stock by renting this long-term and has not been successful. So I think I think that speaks a little bit against the what Mr. Johnson had to say here. Anybody else? Now, we closed the public hearing, but Mr. Fulton, if you're making it quick, then what's up, Elizabeth?
Thank you. Can
So,
you hear me?
No, so wait, the chair closed the public comment period. If you wish, you would have to reopen the public comment period. You haven't closed the public hearing.
Yeah,
you
right.
closed the
So then
public hearing.
I'll open up the public comment period here, but Mr. Fulton, I don't want to have this drag on too long, so please make it
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Peter Fulton. I'm from 31 Winthrop Street. I'm just curious about the logistics of this application. I understand the approach, and I read it thoroughly and so forth. How do the folks, the homeowners here, intend to rent this out? Will they be utilizing a rental service area such as an Airbnb? And what is the vetting process for the potential short-term tenants? What about the limits on the amount of people in the property? Is that all addressed in the bylaw? And that's what has to be adhered to. And how about parking limitations? None of this is addressed publicly. If it's available, otherwise, I'd be glad to read it.
Thank you for your comments here. There's plenty of documents on the website. There's 3 rooms in the house that are dedicated for this. And there is a parking sketch indicating the parking spaces that are available, which is 3 additional parking spaces that are available, so that if each bedroom had a vehicle associated with it, this could all be accommodated. And Mr. Montesier, if you can maybe respond
Sure.
to the question of how what the logistics are of renting the rooms.
Yeah, you want to speak to that?
So, yeah, thank you for your question. So we, as Frank mentioned, we're gonna do it through Airbnb or VRBO. We will have a policy of not accepting any guests until we authorize them, so there won't be any instant booking. And we have like a 2-car garage and 3 additional parking space in front of our garage. So we don't need to utilize any of the off-street parking space or anything like that.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So the parking will follow the sketch that's in the application. Is that the understanding?
Right.
That's the understanding. That's what we are basing this permit on. Yes.
All right, and it'll be occupied by the 3 bedrooms, and for example, you won't have tenants in the living room or the side porch or anything else.
No.
Correct?
No.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Freeling.
Yes, Frank Feely, president of the Concord Housing Foundation, 347 Lexington Road. I wanted to state very strongly my support for what Mr. Johnson said. And I'm very afraid that as we sell ourselves as a tourist destination, we're going to get more units that could be long-term housing for Concord residents going into Airbnbs to the point where, you know, I hope we never get where Nantucket is, where the firemen have to live in Hyannis. But you know, if Airbnb is more profitable than rents, then I understand why people would do that. And I feel very strongly, and did when we adopted the auxiliary dwelling unit ordinance as well, that we should be building them for families or individuals that live in Concord and not using our units as essentially supplementary tourist facilities. I think that is going to further exacerbate the housing crisis. I don't know what the applicant was seeking in rent. You know, the rental market is a buyer and seller market. I wouldn't ask, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's more profitable to run an Airbnb, but that doesn't mean we should approve one because there is a community need for housing. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Freely. Yeah, I hear you. I hear where you're coming from. It's a real danger, but it's a, you know, Airbnbs are, you know, or Airbnb, these short-term rentals are allowed by the zoning bylaw, right? And the applicant here is, I think, is complying with all the requirements set forth in the zoning bylaw, and our precedents, as we've been setting I don't want to say almost every meeting, but on a regular basis, that we have been approving applicants that have been meeting the zoning bylaw requirements. So anyway, I now close the second run of the public comment period and bring it back to the board. Elizabeth Ickehurst Moore, you were away away for a period, so I did ask.
I popped back up, so yep. Thank you.
But
no, I agree with what.
Sorry, yeah. So just
what you said about
just to make clear, since you missed part of this hearing, I just asked the other Elizabeth to be the voting member here.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
so
fine with me.
Just an FYI.
Fine with me. Good luck, Elizabeth. That's your first vote. Very exciting. No, I just wanted to say I agree with what you said. I mean, it's a policy issue. I don't disagree with the problems of short-term rentals, but I don't think it's our place to.
Right.
Very thorough and thoughtful. So it's allowed right now under the bylaw. I wouldn't see a reason to reject it. I would say what. So that's it.
Cool. And you froze up a couple of times here again, so just an
Great.
FYI. But we got the gist. Thank you.
You get the gist, yeah.
So, Elizabeth Dwyer-Leonard, do you have any comments on this just yet, or?
I don't. I think the application is thorough and it's within what's allowed. I agree that there are policy issues, but also that those aren't ours to consider right now.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? If none, then I would consider a motion. And since you're the senior associate of this of the group, Thomas, it's all up to you.
What an honor! Thank you. On the application of Saul Mastari, if I pronounced it right, for a special permit under the zoning bylaw, section 5.3.15 and 11.6 to operate a tourist home and or rental at 219 Commonwealth Avenue. I move that permit be granted.
Can I have a second on that?
I second the motion.
All those in favor, Mr. Swain.
Yes.
Ms. Elizabeth Dwyer-Leonard.
Yes.
And chair votes yes as well. So congratulations, this is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is I saw Ravi here. Is he Ravi here?
Sorry, one of my kids fell in the bathtub 1 minute before the meeting started, and he's fine, but I was a little late.
Okay. So, for the record, can you say that you're present, please, Mr. Villa?
I am present. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, 705, Timothy Dre for a special permit under several zoning bylaws sections on 252 Commonwealth Avenue. This meeting is, I think, is per the request of the applicant being moved to our October meeting, right, Elizabeth? Elizabeth Hughes?
No, the applicant has requested a continuance to the November 9th meeting.
November 9th. Wow. Do you have a time for that?
So you could, 7 p.m. is fine.
Okay. There a motion to that?
If I'm not freezing, continue the hearing for Timothy Trey until, I'm sorry, what time was it? November 9th?
November 9th at 7 p.m.
November 9th at 7 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Ms. Akers-Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Faia,
Aye.
and chair votes aye as well. What's the time now? Okay, the 710 Wood 46 Realty Trust for a special permit on the zoning bylaw section 713 and 11.6 to demolish the existing 260 square foot non-conforming garage to allow the construction of a new 520 square foot garage 2.7 feet away from the side property line at 46 Wood Street. Is there anybody here to speak?
The architect is here. Bob Drew from Battle Architects. I just grabbed this.
okay.
I just grabbed the screen. I apologize. I should have asked first.
Yeah, well, that's good. Nice.
So it's a small project here. What is, if you see on the screen right now, there's a couple of existing photographs. This is an existing garage that's seen a better day, and it needs to be rebuilt. But since we're rebuilding it, and since it's a pretty large house on 46 Wood Street, so that's the existing photo. It's probably best to see the site plan. That's the existing condition right now. It's pretty tight to the house on the left side. Is an existing non-conforming 2.7 feet off the setback by zoning bylaws. You have to have 5 feet. What we're going to do is take it down and replace in kind, but make it deeper. Same width. Starting at the same exact spot, but going back 19.3 back more, so you can put 2 cars, so like kind of like a double loaded garage. It's going to get about 6 to 8 inches higher than it currently is because it currently framed in 2x4s. So we're going to, obviously frame it per code. So it's getting slightly taller. It's basically the same front elevation. We're just extruding it back longer. We're not going to go any closer to the 2.7. It's going to be at the same exact spot. So we're not going to make the condition any worse. Just longer in the back. And since it's longer in the back, best to see the elevation. It kind of slopes as you head towards the back of the yard, and as you head towards the water behind it. Since we have a little bit of height here, and since every garage needs a place to put all the lawn equipment, we're going to make a little bit of a storage space underneath it, kind of maximize not increase the footprint anymore for storage, but kind of use underneath, if that makes sense. We went through HDC, this was approved. Pretty straightforward project. Not the exact same design, just a couple of tweaks in here or there, which we always do. But again, we're not making the condition that the setback not building the garage any more closer to the left property line than currently is.
Cool. Thank you for that explanation. Any questions from our members of the board here?
Sorry, when you just said that you're not making it any different, you mean you are making what you proposed the HDC, you're making it different from the existing design?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want to, it's
Yeah.
following.
You broke up with Damien a little bit, but the idea is we kind of started adding a little more detail to it.
Okay, good.
Got it.
Better garage door. We're architects. We have to change things, but it's we have to add a little more flair to it and kind of like relate to the house more, a little more. That's what we did.
Got it. Thank you.
And can you go to the bottom of this page, please?
Oh, sure.
I mean, it appears that there are steps below. I mean,
Oh, right
that the
here.
steps. Yeah,
That's the footing. So that's the step in the footing. We have to be 4 feet below grade for the frost wall. So since it's sloping, it
okay,
comes
and
to a
that's
point.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah,
get it.
does that make sense? We have to be at least 4 feet below grade so there's no frost heaves.
Yeah,
it's
you
'cause
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's
It
what
just-
that shows.
it to me it just looked like steps, and there was
No.
a basement below.
Oh no, it's just a little bit of the storage space is kind of here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after that, it goes up, and then it doesn't really. It's not really effective. Not really useful.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Any other questions from the board? If not, I'll open it up to members of the public. Anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this application? Seeing none. I mean, I'm seeing none. Elizabeth Hughes, I hope you ping me if there's something that you see, but
I will, of course.
I'm seeing none, so I'll close the public comment section of this hearing. Discussion among the board. Anybody want to weigh in with an opinion here? If not, you can make a motion, but if you know, I'll tee it up maybe a little bit. I don't see anything that would make me vote against this, but I always have a little bit of a hesitance when I see something like this, and we've had this in the past before. An applicant saying like, "Well, we have a non-conforming situation, and we're not making it worse," which is by that they're meaning we're not coming close to the property line. At the same time, there's more bulk put in the setback. So there is this bit of a situation here that I think, I'm not sure whether what you're saying is correct. But
I understand. What I mean is I'm not coming any closer this way. I'm not coming any closer, and I can't really. This is really tight here, so that's why. And I'd rather not put it behind the house because of the view.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
That's
but
kind of the hardship.
Saying we're not making it any worse. It's like, well, you're
True.
putting more bulk in the setback.
Yeah. In terms
right.
of
So, but that's
a good point.
And I think the ruling factor is the setback here, right? It is a distance. That's your measurement here.
Yeah.
So
sorry for the bad vocabulary.
Yeah, that's you're not the first one.
It's not gonna be my last time either.
So did you or the homeowner talk to the neighbor? Do we have any correspondence with the neighbor on that side?
I believe the neighbor knew. I did not speak to them personally, but I know they had a pretty decent sized project a couple of years ago too. I think they know this was coming at some point.
Okay.
But there's no correspondence.
Okay.
I think the house is not like really close to the property. I think it's set back. I think the driveway is kind of like right here, if I remember correctly. If you see where I'm pointing, so it's not like you're not like making.
No, you're not sharing the screen anymore. So
I'm sorry. Hello. Yeah. Again, I do that all the time too. But it's the driveway's on the other side of that property line. Basically, what I'm getting at.
Okay. Good.
Theo, I can bring up the GIS if you want to see a little bit more information on the property.
Yeah, if you can, I can. I have maps up here on the other screen, but if you bring it up, then that's fine. And and everybody can see it.
So here is 46 Wood Street. And here is the garage. This is that adjacent house. So that is set back approximately 34 feet from the property line.
Okay. As I said, I don't have any objections to this. So if the board members agree with this, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's consistent with extensions, you know, that add bulk in the setback, but don't get any closer to the line that we've approved in the past. And, you know, the bulk is kind of behind what you're seeing from the street too. So I'm good with this.
Correct. It's
I
just
think
real.
under 713, I agree that it is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure. So are you gonna make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Find my agenda. I move to approve the application of Wood 46 Realty Trust for a special permit under bylaw sections 713 and 11.6 to construct a new 520 square foot garage, 2.7 feet from the side property line at 46 Wood Street.
Based on the findings and comments made by the board tonight.
Yeah, based on the comments the board has made tonight.
Perfect.
But Robbie,
Did you just say you second that, or?
I second. Am I cutting out
Okay.
again?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
you are.
Good
Yeah.
times.
So, anyway, on that motion, all those in favor, roll call, Ms. Elizabeth Akers Moore. That was, you barely made that. Mr.
I'm moving.
Faria.
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much as always. Take care, guys.
7:15. Ross Walter for special permit on the zoning bylaws sections 4222 and 11.6 for an 842 square foot detached additional dwelling unit at 537 Barrett's Mill Road. This is a continuation of a meeting of a hearing 2 months ago. And in the meantime, a few things have happened. But before that, Ms. Faria was not present at the hearing 2 months ago, but has since reviewed the recording and filed the appropriate paperwork. So he will be the voting member on this board, as well with Elizabeth Akers Moore. Where we left off last time is that the board actually, we took in a lot of information during the hearing, and we were left off was that the board needed to do a little bit of homework. We got some information from a neighbor pretty late in that day that we hadn't had time to review, and we wanted to do a site visit. All members have done the site visit individually and not as a group. And I think we all read that additional information, and some of us, and I know I did, also review the recording of that hearing. So that's kind of where we left off. In the meantime, some new information was submitted to us, and I think the main part of that was that there was a new site plan submitted. And there were some, and we always are very grateful if that happens, that there were discussions between the applicant and the neighbors. And I think it seemed to me from what I saw in correspondence that there was at least a little bit of a resolution there. So I see Mr. O'Reilly here, so I think he wants to speak to that. I hope he wants to speak to that.
Yes, yeah. So since our last hearing, there's been several meetings between the applicant and the neighbors, a lot of talks and discussion. And so we worked.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and for the record?
Yep, my name is Tim O'Reilly. I work for Backyard ADUs, and we're here tonight to talk about the ADU at 537 Barrett's Mill Road. Yes, so we had discussions between the applicant and the neighbor, a lot of back and forth and positive dialogue, and found this resolution to move that ADU closer to the existing dwelling. I believe you received a letter in support of this new placement, and that speaks to the dialogue that we've had. And so there were a couple lingering questions for which we sought an outside opinion to hopefully help clarify for the board if they did have any more concerns about 4.2.2. But yes, that was the changes since our last meeting, and we're curious for your feedback tonight and hope for a positive outcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I saw we got a letter from the attorney this afternoon for regarding the 4.22 versus 4.221. My opinion here is that, you know, you filed on a 4.222. The building inspector, who is the zoning enforcement officer, accepted that application. So this is what we go on. This is what we go on, and this is what, you know, we go forward with, and it's not. It was, I think, it was a question that was brought up by one of the neighbors, and I think, you know, 4.221 is a multifamily section, and that this, just my direct opinion is that this does not fall under it's filed on a 4.222, and that is agreed by the zoning enforcement officer. Are there any questions from the board? Thomas, you were there last time. Ravi, you weren't there, but you reviewed the materials. I'm curious about your thoughts. Don't want to put you on the spot here, but
and I think
there's any.
we also hear, I think there was some concerns about whether, you know, this fell within the spirit of 4.2.2 as well, and I believe we got some comfort from town council on that, on some of the points that were raised by public comment. So, you know, based on that, and in the new location, I tend to fall in line with what I was hearing from the board, which is that this is, this is something that the bylaw contemplates, and something that we're able to get behind, as long as we feel that the concerns of the neighbors have been sufficiently addressed by the changes here.
Thank you so much. Although we had open and closed a public hearing, a public comment section in the last hearing, given the fact that there's some new information out there, I do want to open it up to some public comment. So if anybody wants to speak, and when anybody from the public wants to speak on this application, please raise your hand. Mr. Yu. Nope. Is he gone? No, he's still here. No. Oh, yep. Go ahead. You.
Hugh.
Hello.
Hugh, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. You're muted.
Yeah, I still can't hear you.
No, no. We see your lips move, but So trying. Is there anybody else in the meantime? Well, you deals with some technical issues here. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I'd just like to speak to the intent of 4.2.2.2 because there were questions raised about it. And I was chair of the planning board the year that this ADU bylaw was passed. And I have also just reviewed the public hearing presentations that were made at the time when town meeting passed this. In both of those presentations that Burton Flint gave, he cited the example of a cottage as a possible ADU. And I wanted to emphasize that it definitely was our intent that new structures could be built, detached structures, in order to create an ADU. I understand that the wording of zoning bylaws is a little obscure sometimes. And so, you know, it didn't seem absolutely clear that, oh, I'm building a structure to put it in. But I just want to say that it is A, provided for, and B, was intended. And I just am raising this not because I have any opinion about the specifics of this application. I'm much more concerned about, again, the policy outcome here of that you're going to be faced with future applications that are for new structures. And we need to establish that, yes, new structures can be used to place an ADU. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Try this again. You?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I set up my phone as well. So I really appreciate what Matt Johnson has said, and Matt and I have been in touch. Just trying to clarify.
I do need your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, Elizabeth. My name is Hugh McCrory, 59 Lee Drive in Concord.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. So, you know, I respect the applicant, but my concern with this application and others like it in the future is that this application addresses 4.2.2.2, so 4.2.2. That section of the bylaw is purely for units for rent, and the applicant has already stated that this unit is not for rent. So that's one concern. You know, I've had, and I guess I'm maybe, and not just myself. And this, you don't have to address this now, but I guess I was curious on the by right. ADUs by right. I don't see anything in the bylaws by that. Maybe it's a state law, which I'm not aware of. So I'm open to correction. And it would be great to be able to see the information from town council as well. I would appreciate that. I also sent in a letter detailing the envisaged Vision Concord letter, which really emphasized the need to reduce the number of developments, especially close to conservation land, which would be, you know, encourage applicants to apply under 4.2.2.1. And further to Matt Johnson's, you know, emails with myself and himself, you know, ADUs are in general, you know, we have a housing crisis, as Matt recognizes, but applications like this aren't really helping that housing crisis. And it's a, you know, a 3,000 square foot property, which we're now adding approximately another 850, give or take a few feet, more living space in. So I'm not sure how that actually, this kind of application addresses the housing crisis we have in Massachusetts. So other points, I don't want to dwell any more, but other points I have are in the letter, but I hope, it sounds like you've gotten legal counsel, which was great and something I wanted. So 2 points to summarize, this unit is not for rent, and 4.2.2 addresses that. And I personally don't think this addresses the housing crisis. So thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Hughes, you're not a member of the public, but you can speak.
It just makes it easier if I raise my hand. That's all. So while the first section, the first sentence in section 4.2.2 talks about ADUs and being able for them to rent. The sentence goes on to say, or to allow a homeowner to share the burdens of homeownership, which many times is they may have a child come back and live in the unit and share on the cost or burden of the homeowners, or they may need in-home care and that person can stay in there. So there's lots of opportunities to share in different ways to share in the burdens of homeownership. And it is not just for rent. I will point that out. To your comment, the guidance that the board gets from town council is guidance from council to the board. It is it's not a public document. When the board asks for that guidance, especially if it's on an application for which they are making a determination and findings for, since town council represents the town and the board. So I believe the chair has at the last meeting, no, I get my meetings mixed up, so sorry, did acknowledge that the board did receive that guidance from council, and that 4222 is the appropriate section for this application to be submitted under.
Thanks. Anybody else from the public? If not, then I'm closing the public comment section. There's a few
Just one
things.
follow-up question. Follow-up point. Thank you. What I would say is, I actually participated in some of the meetings with the applicants, the property owner, and the acceptance by the abutters is essentially the lesser of two evils. And I put evils in inverted comma. I don't mean that that's a lesser of two not great options. Excuse me. I was going to make a point, but it just slipped my mind when I stated that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now the public comment section is really closed. I get it that the letter from the abutters said that they are not opposing anymore. I read that clearly. But there's a couple of things here, and I actually feel pretty strongly about this, and I think that every unit that gets added helps alleviate the housing prices. Maybe not measurably, but you try to get a housing unit for a senior in this area. I speak from experience here. That is a very hard thing to do. So I do believe that this is an extremely good bylaw that helps, maybe not measurably, but it helps the housing crisis. It provides housing that is otherwise not available. So I think that's the rent question is like, if you look at 4222, it's the intro to in this bylaw is not the requirements that the applicant needs to go by. The application needs to be A through whatever it is, L, actually it's N. Those are requirements that the application has to adhere to. The intro, it's for rent and whatever it says in there, it's not a requirement of this application. So I think that's a moot point. And I also want to respond to the in an existing building or not an existing building. As Mr. Johnson explained, it was always the intention of the planning board to make this a open to new buildings. But it is really a moot point because the applicant can go out, build themselves a 1,000 square foot barn in the backyard. The moment he gets a certificate of occupancy from the building inspector, he or she then can file for a building permit to make that existing structure into an ADU. So it is maybe a bit of game, but it is a real option that's out there. So I would like to put that one to bed as well. And another one that was a need that I would like to clear up after that, after we had quite a bit of a discussion on that 2 months ago, is the visual aspect of this of this addition to this dwelling unit. You know, if this were, you know, when you do a visual assessment study, it's not like, can I see it from my property? And if I can see it from my property, therefore it is denied. Or can I see it from the public street? If I can see it, therefore it is denied. It is a visual assessment study, deals with what the surrounding is and what it fits in with. This unit by itself, not even the piece that we are making this tonight, our decision on, the 92 square footage addition, but the entire unit, the 800 something square foot is dwarfed by all the buildings that are around here. If you do a visual assessment, and I've done a few of these professionally, you could never not approve this building. It is dwarfed. It falls completely within reasonable within reason, because it's a residential unit that has a roof line that's just like the roof lines of the buildings next door. It has a door, it has windows, it fits in completely with its surroundings. So it would never stand out, and that really is your threshold here. And so I'd like to clear that up, that even if you looked at the full unit, it would pass the visual assessment test. That being said, I think I'll let you all know where I stand, but I still am open to do some comments from the board, if there are any.
Yeah, I just would say I do appreciate that the applicant has spoken to the neighbors and has made some changes here. That a couple of the concerns that were raised were about visibility from the street and the idea of, does it look like we have lots with two houses on those? And I think moving the structure much closer to the main house kind of addresses a lot of the points that were made. So I do want to say that I appreciate that the applicant was willing to engage in that process with the neighbors and work with them on that.
Good, thank you.
Elizabeth,
well, Elizabeth, this echoes more. Your mouth was moving, but you're muted. No. There they are.
So I'm calling it on my phone. I was hoping you could unmute my phone. That's 6.
So I cannot unmute your phone. I can only ask you to unmute. So something.
Well, what is it? Was it *8 or *6?
There you go.
Yes, you're unmuted.
Try it now.
It only took me the whole meeting to figure out how to do this. Okay, so now you can hear me, right?
Yes.
I'm not. Great. I didn't have anything profound to say. I was just going to say that I agree with Ravi. I appreciate the effort that was made by to get together with the neighbors, and I also agree with you, Teo. I think there would, as I said before, I think that we were just ruling on the special permit on the additional square footage, and it is by right. I think that was a question that Hugh, you had asked about why is it by right. In the zoning bylaw itself, I don't know if someone has that, it says a building permit may issue an ADU if it is, we can issue a special permit if it's over 1,000 square feet. So that's the answer to that. So I have no issues with it. I think it's appropriate.
Thomas, you were at the first hearing. Do you have any additional comments?
They wouldn't be helpful. This would be interesting. I happen to feel bound by the town council's opinion, though anybody who happens to be listening to this, there are rights of appeal should they not agree with the decision, whatever the board takes. But they need to look at that and get their own attorneys. Notwithstanding all the comments, I don't happen to think the interpretation is as presented by several attorneys and by the board. But having said that, if the board were to vote in favor of this, I would have voted in favor, feeling bound by the town council opinion.
Thank you. Ravi and Elizabeth, I'm looking at you all because I think we're clear here.
Mhm.
I assume we don't want to take that comment any further from Tom, but Theo, I'm asking you that.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I really don't.
Okay. Then that being said, I would go ahead and make a motion that we grant a special permit to Roz Walter for a special permit under zoning bylaw section, special permit under zoning bylaw section 4.2.2.2 and 11.6 for an 842 square foot detached additional dwelling unit at 537 Barrett's Mill Road, parcel number 1948-4, in conformity with the plans presented and standard conditions. Anything else? Finding that this is consistent with the bylaw.
Second.
All those in favor, Ms. Elizabeth Akers Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Ravifia,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda being minutes of 7:13. Anybody reviewed them? Any comments? Nobody reviewed it, or nobody has any comments?
Please say you all read them and nobody has any comments, or if you did not have time to read them, then we can continue them.
We
the
can
next
continue
meeting.
them.
Of course.
Otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
I was not yet a member, so
Right. You get to read them.
So also do not have any feedback.
Okay, I did not have any comments. Let me kick it off then. I read them, but I did not have any comments on them. You still can make a motion, Ravi.
Motion to approve the minutes from the July 13th meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, Ms. Faya,
Aye.
Ms. Akers Moore,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Well, that concludes tonight's hearing. Elizabeth Hughes, you have another.
I just do want to remind the board about your quick meeting next Tuesday, the 19th, to open and immediately continue the public hearing for the Novo Riverside Commons comprehensive permit. Unless you feel otherwise, Heather Carey will be your host for the 3 minutes of that meeting. And the board has a specifically dedicated extra meeting in October. I believe it's the 26th. That is in person for the board at the Harvey Wheeler Community Center. But it will be a hybrid meeting, so that I believe it is going to be the intent, as boards do go back to some in-person meetings. The planning board has 2 meetings a month. Well, one will be virtual for the board, and the other will be in person for the board. But they all will be hybrid to allow just greater public access for the community. So it is, yes, Thursday, October 26th will be the special public hearing for the Riverside Commons comprehensive permit.
Yeah, and that, so thank you all for making time for that. I asked for that to have just one big meeting as just an information gathering session for everybody in West Concord. Can come out to that. Everybody just have an in-person meeting and where everybody can attend. And after that, I think we will weave it in the Novo Riverside into our regular scheduled meetings, right? But I want it, and then it'll be obviously virtual again. But that first one, I really wanted to set that up as a good big information gathering session. So and it would be good. And next Tuesday, getting started on this. I'm very excited to do this 40B. So it's going to be a good process.
I'll remind you of that later on.
I've had a little bit of experience with these, so this is gonna.
Okay.
And I'm just having faith in the people of Concord that they will help make it a great process. So
Elizabeth
no, go ahead.
I'm
Tom.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go. You
Elizabeth, has the application with respect to the Commonwealth Avenue where I believe was a golf or whatever gas station, has that come before your board yet? Tom Falwell represents the developer, I believe.
Yes, it has come to the planning board once, and at this time the applicant is redesigning different items to address issues and concerns raised by the West Concord Advisory Committee and the planning board. And I believe this afternoon it has submitted revised plans and drawings and information. Those will be sent back out to town staff for review, as well as the board's outside consultant to look at the traffic and parking impacts and the issues that have been raised. And then it will go back to the planning board. It is my thought that everything came today. It will go back out to staff and the consultant on Monday. I am not, as I told the chair, I'm not in the office tomorrow. I get to have my first root canal, so I'm so excited. It definitely won't go to the planning board on September 26th. I'm not sure that town staff and the outside consultant can review everything and provide comments back for the planning board's meeting on October 10th. I'm gonna try. It really all depends on how long it will take staff and the outside consultant to review everything and get back. So
that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Personal advice: I've had a number of root canals, etc. Keep the ice on for that first day.
Okay. Okay.
And a bottle of scotch handy.
Perfect.
Yeah,
By the way, may I recommend as excellent reading material the chapter 40B handbook. it is actually very, very good. That gives you all some good information.
So
Where
all of
does one find that?
So all of the board members have an actual physical copy of the Novo Riverside Commons application and a reduced set of plans. If you want a full set of plans, you just have to let us know. And that document is with that. So it's in the planning office. I know that Theo and Tom have picked up their copies. And you know, I'd be happy to deliver one to Concord Market if that's helpful.
That would be great.
Okay,
You have-
and then if, you know, really if Ravi and Elizabeth, if you can't just swing by tomorrow, we are open, you know, 8 to noon. We can leave it in you know, like in a bag out in front of the building if you want to pick it up after hours, or I can arrange on Monday to just swing by and drop it off at your house.
I can pick it up tomorrow.
I'll try
Okay,
and swing
before
by.
noon or
Before noon. Before noon.
Ravi?
Yeah, morning is good. Mhm.
Okay, awesome.
Great,
I will
excellent.
let Heather know.
Excellent, and it's also a good application too. It's yeah. So
That's kind
and
of-
then also I also want to remind you, once we have the in public meeting on this project, soon thereafter we I would think we would like to do a site visit. And I think it's just to keep that in mind that that's also coming up, and it would be really nice if for this one we could all make an exception and just be there all together. I think that would be good. I think while we're out on site, I'm sure it's a big site, and the applicant will want to point out some stuff to us. So we need
So
to make.
does the board want to have that site visit before the October 26th meeting or after?
After,
Okay.
yeah, we need
All
to
right,
get the
sounds good.
information. We need, and then that comes after, but very shortly after. And we have 180 days starting next Tuesday to get to a decision here, which is doable. But you know, we need to. We can't waste time. That's really my point here. We can't waste time, but it's very much doable, especially given the thorough application and the information that has been provided. So, and Elizabeth already being on the ball and getting peer review quotes out, so that's a good thing. My apologies that I was a little bit hard at the last hearing. I should have been a bit softer there, but senior housing is something that's very important. So anyways, anybody else? Well, Elizabeth, do you always go by your both last names, or can it be shortened? Is it too
Me?
mouthful? Yeah.
Leonard is fine. And if
Leonard.
Tom called me Elizabeth Mary, I threw up my middle name. That's an
but
option too. If that makes
Okay,
people's
no,
lives
Elizabeth.
easier.
Okay, cool. Thank you. How did it go tonight? Did you have fun?
It was really interesting. It's just good to see kind of what the routine of it is. And then, you know, it's people and their feelings and their needs meet a law, and, you know, that's familiar.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, no, and I'm sure you'll pick it up pretty quickly. You know, so that's good. We had we had a good hearing, good meeting tonight. Some good discussions. So
yeah, interesting
anyway.
stuff.
Yep. Okie dokie. Elizabeth Hughes, good luck tomorrow.
Oh, thanks. No worries.
We'll wish you well.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone.
I promise.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
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 See you next
All right.
time.